Christine's got a meeting with one of her most formidable backbenchers, Gwyneth Dunwoody. Her constituents are up in arms over the government's handling of the fuel protests, and Christine can expect a severe tongue-lashing from Gwyneth.
I hope you won't mind. No, I have had some of the tea in this office before.
Is it that bad? I'm terribly sorry. We'll try and improve that for you the next time. You don't mind if I just help myself?
Tell me, Prime Minister, what sort of plan have you, and what is the timetable that you expect for this difficulty to go on?
Well, obviously, we are aiming to resolve this as quickly as possible. I can't actually give you a timeline at the moment. I would like to be able to do that, and obviously to reassure yourself and your constituents. But at the moment, you know, we are in control of the situation. Things are in place. Action is being taken, and I can absolutely tell you that it will get through, and this will be resolved.
Had you thought of coming to the House of Commons to make a full statement?
It's something that I'm discussing at the moment.
Discussing. Had you had any doubts about the need to make a statement to the House of Commons? Because the House of Commons should take precedence, surely, on the discussions that you're having elsewhere with the media.
Yes, it will have some impact, and of course we are...
Some impact, yes, I think it does.
Yes, no, I mean, it has a vital impact, and of course at some stage I will be addressing the House of Commons. I'm just not quite sure when at the moment.
Well,
don't know what I'm doing at all, and I'm bluffing my way through all of this. But I thought she was very nice.
I thought she was good. She kept her nerve, and I think perhaps hadn't altogether thought out all her answers, but that she's got in common, unfortunately, with some professional politicians.
If Nick's going to avoid another battering from the media, he's going to have to be clear about the line he'll take with them.
OK, so we've got two lines. I can't go making budget decisions off the cuff like that, and we've got lower taxation on average than the rest of Europe.
We have fair taxation.
Right.
We have fair taxation.
OK.
Yeah, we need to pay for roads, we need to pay for schools, we need to pay for hospitals. We need to do that in a way that doesn't penalise hard-working families, hard-working businesses. And in Britain, we think we have the balance right. We're not a high-tax economy like the rest of Europe.
Yep.
We're a reasonable tax economy. Part of it's on fuel, part of it's on income. I think, you know, that's the case. You're making the case for the spending, and you're making the case for the fair way you think it's being.
And there is a specific answer that you might need if the question comes up, which is that if any interviewer asks you why it is that petrol duty in this country is so much higher than some other European countries, you need to be able to make the point that in many of those countries where the duty is lower, they have much higher rates of direct personal taxation.
Right.
I think it's a common misunderstanding, actually, that the Prime Minister in all his meetings is telling people what to do, and I think that probably Nick is worried that he's not going to have the information there necessary to tell people, when actually what he needs to realise is that a lot of the Prime Minister's job is listening and making people feel that you understand their views.
Meanwhile, there's no let-up from the hard time Christine's getting from Gwyneth.
Are we going to be able to convey to them a worthwhile plan, something that will sound genuinely concerned with their interests?
Yes, I mean, of course we are genuinely concerned with their interest. Not everybody.
And Gwyneth's score for Christine?
I think we'll give her an 8 out of 10.
And for Nick?
6 or 7? Yeah, I'd say about 6.
Nick and Christine have a hectic morning of non-stop meetings at number 10 and have to get their head round subjects as diverse as hunting and arming the police.
I mean, we've been very upfront about hunting and about the issues, and the more work we've done in explaining what hunting is and what it's about, the more the public opinions will.
But I mean, perhaps if we look at the cruelty debate, can you just give me your feeling?
My experiences are being armed on the streets and dealing with the public is that you do not get a huge reaction.
Would the officers feel more protected, or would they actually feel that they were a target themselves?
Meanwhile, the fuel crisis tops the news agenda.
Almost straight away, the extent of the crisis was clear. Filling stations.
Highest price rises in Wiltshire, £2.50 for a litre of oil.
Have now agreed to move supply.
This was a critical test for the government, not only how they handle the immediate crisis, but also the long-term problem. The determination.
For Nick's next appointment, he's leaving Downing Street to visit the London Irish Centre in Camden, where he's hoping to boost his flagging popularity.
It's going to be fairly hectic in there. Right. There will be a lot of journalists about.
How many people are we looking at?
There's probably about 100 people in the hall.
Right, okay. All right, you guide me in.
Nick wasn't expecting the hostile media scrum which greeted him.
Prime Minister, how are you handling this?
What's your reaction to 95% of the country?
Prime Minister, this is...
What are you going to do about the fuel crisis, Prime Minister?
What are you going to do about it?
We'll be there.
I think I was set up. There was a lot more there than I expected. A lot more there. And I didn't know about it until, you know, literally getting out of that car door.
Nick's got to make a speech to justify his position on the fuel crisis. He's not looking forward to it. Can he get across the message he's been given by his special advisors?
It's a great, great honour to be at the London Irish Centre, particularly as you celebrate your 50th anniversary. And it's also lovely to see so many smiling faces. It's certainly something that would brighten up any Prime Minister's day. I'd like to turn, if I may, to a major issue which is affecting our country at the moment. And that, of course, is the current fuel protests. A small group of people are currently blockading fuel supplies. And this is something that we cannot let continue. Now, people say to me, Prime Minister, on the continent, fuel is so much cheaper. Well, I say to them, they have to recognise that taxation on the continent is much higher than it is here in the UK. The speech was okay. The microphone stand was a bit low, and so I felt myself stooping a bit. But it went all right. There was a slight thing going on in my throat, but I think I pulled it off. My aim is true. What I intend to do is deal with this issue, deal with it quickly, and make sure that we carry on with the continued prosperity and success of this country. Thank you.
Live news, live sport. This is 5 Live.
And this is John Pienaar on 5 Live. Coming up, it's not a strike, it's not an industrial action, it's not...
Christine's on her way to answer complaints from the public as the special guest on a radio phone-in.
As the fuel crisis exposed a government out of touch with its public. Joining me on 5 Live after the news, the Prime Minister, Christine Warren.
From the BBC, this is 5 Live.
Prime Minister, how do you do? Thank you for coming in. Please sit down. We'll with you in just a second after the news.
We're very pleased to meet you, but
Thank you.
I didn't agree with all the issues.
Did you not? Well, what are you particularly concerned about?
You said you're only paying, we're only paying 2 pence tax on a litre of petrol. That's not true.
The increase in the fuel prices has been 2 pence in tax. I agree the total tax that we pay on fuel it is a lot higher than that. It is.
He's inclined to say to people, yes, I agree with you, and he doesn't always agree with them. He needs to say why he doesn't agree with them and explain his case.
As a cancer patient, Prime Minister, I would like to ask you about the waiting list for the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy.
I'd agree, they're not good enough. They're not good enough.
From the BBC, this is 5 Live.
Good morning, this is John Pienaar on 5 Live.
Christine's had a relatively easy time so far, but things are about to change as the public's anger is unleashed on the phone-in.
My special guest this morning, of course, is the Prime Minister, Christine Warren. Good morning to you, Prime Minister.
Good morning,
Now,
John.
Bernie, who's in Liverpool. Good morning, Bernie.
Good morning. The thing is, Prime Minister, I'm a bit peed off, to be honest. My daughter, Chelsea, she's 12, and she started Operation Cancel today because of this fuel crisis. And we've been told that it's being cancelled because it's only emergencies during the fuel shortages. Now, you tell me, Prime Minister, what am I supposed to say to her?
Prime Minister.
Bernie, first of all, I'm sorry to hear about Chelsea. And of course we are doing everything that we can to make sure that those supplies are getting through to the
Prime
hospitals.
Minister, that's rubbish, I'm afraid.
Well,
I mean, you're sorry, but that's the nice words, aren't they? I mean, what am I supposed to say to her this morning? She's lying there, expecting to get her life back in some more. She's got the girl's got her life ahead of her. You know what I mean? It's not on, Prime Minister, to be honest. And you don't seem to be doing anything about it.
Bernie, we are doing something about it. I have acted and acted decisively. Myself, the oil
that's
companies...
rubbish, Prime Minister. All your words, your hope, all that, it's it means nothing to me.
I can understand how you...
You can't. Oh, listen, there's no point talking to you politicians. You're not in touch.
It was horrible. Really, really tough questions. Palms sweating, knees shaking. It was so difficult because it's like you want to try and get all your points across and you're trying to hear it, and it's like, what do you say to someone whose kid's in hospital? I mean, it's just like, I was just like, oh, please get me out of there.
Christine thinks she's got all the answers. The trouble is the callers are not asking the right questions.
Let's talk to Charlie in Manchester. Now, Charlie, hello.
Hiya.
Hi, morning, Charlie. What do you want to put to the Prime Minister?
Well, it's slightly different to everyone else, really. I've just been listening to the news, the local news here, and apparently Manchester Royal Infirmary's had to cancel operations because it's run out of supplies of stitches. Well, I mean, I don't really believe that, and I think that the government's trying to exaggerate the risk to the health industry to change people's opinions against the protesters.
You think it's all spin, Charlie?
Yeah.
OK, let me answer that one. It is the blockaders and the protesters that aren't allowing the fuel in.
But are we really supposed to believe that, that we've run out of supplies of stitches because of it?
Well, I'm not quite sure about the stitches. I'm more concerned about getting the oil into and the fuel into the hospitals. And of course, if the stitches arrive by transport, they are going to need the fuel for that transport. You're trying to always stick to a line and always, not evade questions but answer them. And my head was just going at 100 miles an hour.
Very nice. Thank you for coming in, Prime Minister. And good luck with the rest of the day. I suspect you may need it.
So, after that battering, how did John think she did?
I thought that was credible. I think with the pressure of those calls and with emails and with a scenario which would have made any Prime Minister quake in their shoes, I thought she did pretty well. Now, she didn't lose it at any point. I'd give her a good 7.5, 8 out of 10.
The work you do here is absolutely tremendous. And it gives me great pleasure to unveil this plaque. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Nick's attempt to look Prime Ministerial so far seems to be paying off.
I found him very credible. He was obviously full of energy for the task. It overwhelmed me. I don't know how he keeps up with it. I would say definitely 7 out of 10.
Got the morning off school, Adelaide, they are limited.
Tony Blair recognises the need to be seen more during times of crisis, but facing the public can be unpredictable and a public relations disaster.
And if you'd just like to go and have a look at it, then you'll find out just how terrible it really is.
I'm very sorry about the situation.
No, you're not very sorry, because if you was, you would do something about it. They're understaffed.
Federation of Irish Societies.
As Nick's visit nears the end, things take a turn for the worse, as our PMs are faced with a political scandal.
Prime Minister, could I just have a quick word with you for 1 second?
Sure.
Sorry. We've got some bad news. Lewis Michael, your close friend, unfortunately, is admitted to using illegal drugs, including cocaine, in an interview with a women's magazine.
He said that he's going to be getting help with that.
Right.
But obviously, your relationship with him, that's going to come up now. We're going to have to deal with it head on, I'm afraid.
This doesn't look good. We're going to have to make a comment about it before we leave the centre. What line do you want to take?
My instinct is that you have to go out and talk to the press straight away.
I can't avoid this.
No, you can't avoid it. And no comment isn't going to work.
No.
Are they likely to try and open up the whole drug debate there and then in the interview, or are they just going to push me on?
I think they will, yes.
The two things that spring to my mind immediately is that people are going to ask you whether you knew.
No. Absolutely no knowledge of that. No, you've got no problems there, don't worry.
I think you're going to have to condemn what he's done while supporting him as an individual, and that's probably where we're going to have to start from.